This is WVTM 13. Breaking news is happening right now.
And that breaking news, Hoover Police getting an update in the Carlee Russell disappearance.
In the last hour, we've learned the department will hold a press conference tomorrow afternoon. WVTM 13's Aaron Llewellyn joining us now with the latest. This story has captivated the nation, Aaron.
Yes, guys, Sherry. Since Carlee Russell reported a toddler walking on I-459, there have been several questions about what happened leading up to and during the 49 hours that she was missing. Now, let's take a look at that timeline. Carlee called 911 to report what she saw on the highway. But when police arrived, all they could find was her wig, her phone, and her Apple Watch and her car. This led to a multi-search for Carlee and a massive social media campaign that ended with her walking to her parents' house late Saturday night. Hoover police have also released new facts from the investigation, the biggest one being that police did not have any evidence that a toddler was walking down the interstate and no calls were made to police about seeing the child. And after leaving work Thursday, Carlee stopped at a nearby Target to get some snacks, but they were not found in her car. Detectives also have video from Carlee's neighborhood, which shows her walking down the sidewalk alone prior to her getting to her house on Saturday night. When first responders got there, they found Russell conscious and speaking, and she was transported in that condition. She was later treated and released from a local hospital. Now again, Hoover Police will have a press conference where we can expect them to release more details about what happened that night. That press conference is expected to start at 2:30, and we will bring that to you on air and online. But for right now, we're live in Birmingham. Aaron Llewellyn, WVTM 13.
Well, right now there's a severe thunderstorm warning in Tuscaloosa and Jefferson counties.
WVTM 13 Chief Meteorologist Jason Simpson joining us now. Heard some thunder overhead here.
Yeah, and that storm is passing through Jefferson towards Shelby and Bibb now as well. The warning was just extended until 10:45 for Shelby, northwestern Chilton, Bibb County, and northern Hale County. We got a wind gust of 50 miles per hour at Tuscaloosa Regional Airport, and those storms are the same kind that are coming through West Jefferson County right now with tremendous rain, lots of lightning, potential here for a wind gust that could go over 60 miles per hour in Hoover, headed down toward Helena, Pelham, Alabaster, Maline, and out toward Whispering Pines Lake. And then from Coaling down to Duncanville, tremendous rain falling here. Severe thunderstorm warning in effect for this part of Tuscaloosa County around I-20, Highway 11, and then down Highway 82 to about Duncanville through 10:15. But south of Duncanville, we're under the warning until 10:45 as this whole cluster is moving down toward the south. So here's the storm track on this. In the next 20 minutes, we think it's getting closer to places like Calera and Centerville, Yolen, and Alabaster. 10:05 p.m. is when the heavier part of this storm should be getting right up to the northwest edge of Alabaster, especially toward Helena and Pelham on that northwest end of town. And the storms themselves will be working on down toward the south for the next couple of hours. Behind it, there still is a couple of hours of light rain along with some frequent lightning. There's lightning all the way back to the northwest up toward Huntsville, Athens, and Decatur. So it will be a while before all this is out of here late tonight. And then tomorrow, we may do this again in some counties. We'll show you where the best chance of rain comes in on Wednesday, coming up in just a few moments. Guy?
All right, Jason. Well, as we mentioned at the top of the newscast, new developments in the Carlee Russell case. Hoover police providing new information about the night Carlee went missing and the day of her return, including the Carlee going to Target on Highway 280 after leaving the Colonnade. They say she bought some snacks that were not found inside her vehicle that was found on I-459. Now, police also saying there was no evidence of a toddler walking down the interstate, no other calls about it either, and that she was walking alone in her neighborhood when she returned on Saturday. Now, for those who live near the Russell family, they're all celebrating her safe return. Since her disappearance last week, many neighbors have been putting ribbons on their mailboxes to show their support for the family. Some say they're thankful she's back home, but still have a lot of unanswered questions.
We're definitely glad to hear that, just once again, just with her missing and, living a street over, it was a little overwhelming for everybody that lived here and, just trying to find those details and trying to find out where she was. And so that's definitely a sigh of relief.
And at this point, Hoover police aren't saying much about the investigation, but Carlee's parents are adamant someone took their daughter against her will. In an exclusive interview with NBC's Today Show, Carlee's mother emphasized that there were moments during her disappearance where she had to fight for her life. And when she arrived back home, she was visibly traumatized by the whole ordeal.
We tried to hug her as best we could, but I had to stand back because she was not in a good state. There were moments when she physically had to fight for her life, and there were moments when she had to mentally fight for her life.
Talitha Russell wouldn't share any of the details that her daughter shared with her, citing it could hurt the investigation that is underway. For the full interview with Carly's parents, head to our website or download the WVTM 13 app in the App Store or on Google Play. We will also hear from Hoover Police tomorrow, as we just mentioned. A news conference is scheduled for 2:30 at the Frank and Pam Barfield Training Center. We'll carry that on air, and we'll have it for you on our website, WVTM13.com.
The people across the Birmingham Metro mourning the loss of a firefighter who died nearly a week after being shot.
Jordan Melton passed away at UAB Hospital late last night. He and fellow firefighter Jamal Jones were doing routine maintenance at Fire Station 9 last Wednesday morning when the shooting happened. Jones continues to recover.
You know, today was a very somber meeting at the Birmingham City Council, and I think that there's nothing that anyone can individually say, whether they be in a leadership position or whether they be a member of the community or a member of the Birmingham Fire and Rescue family.
Birmingham police believe the ambush was due to a personal conflict with one of the victims. So far, no suspects or arrests. A $25,000 reward is being offered. Tributes continue to pour in for both of the men.
Across the city, flags are flying at half-staff in remembrance of Melton. WVTM 13's Aaron Llewellyn has more with city leaders about his passing.
Jordan was somebody that I actually knew, that actually worked at A.G. Gaston Boys and Girls Club, that was down in Bessemer and worked with young people. So he had a track record of service to our city.
Birmingham City Councilman J.T. Moore sharing his memories of Birmingham firefighter Jordan Melton during Tuesday's City Council meeting, remembering the man Melton was. Melton and fellow firefighter Jamal Jones were shot last Wednesday while on duty. Jones survived the shooting, but Monday marked Melton's end of watch.
Our thoughts and prayers go out to you and your family. How many times are we going to have to say that?
The news of Melton's death frustrating for council members.
God knows they are in our prayers and in our hearts and in our thoughts. But what are we going to do?
Councilor Valerie Abbott hoping to spark change in the city so no one has to lose their life to senseless violence. Councilman Moore says doing something starts by not living in fear and standing for what's right.
I guarantee you, the very gentleman or person who was involved in the shooting with Brother Melton, somebody knows who he is. You know where he is. And we need to find him.
Aaron Llewellyn, WVTM 13.
No arrest has been made in the shooting, but Governor Kay Ivey hopes $10,000 will encourage anyone with information to come forward. That's on top of the $15,000 already offered by Crime Stoppers. Tomorrow, the Birmingham community will come together to honor Melton's life and service. Birmingham Fire and Rescue Service will hold a blood drive from 9 in the morning until 5 in the afternoon at Fire Station number 1 on 7th Avenue North. Now, the event is open to the public. The results continue to pour in, and for the Jefferson County special election to fill the vacant District 5 commissioner seat, the polls have shown that Mike Bolin will defeat David Silverstein with almost 60% of the vote. Previous seat holder Steve Ammons resigned in May.
After 2 days of debate, state lawmakers are advancing another proposed congressional map. The Supreme Court has ordered the state to redraw the map to give the state a second majority black district. This afternoon, state senators advanced a map that would increase the percentage of black voters in the second congressional district from about 30 to 38%, well below the 50% threshold plaintiffs were asking for. It also seems that senators from both parties are disappointed in the map.
Putting 90% of the county in one district and 10% in the other. My public and my elected officials back in Etowah County want the county kept whole.
Going to do another map, which in turn the state of Alabama will contest that again, continuing to spend millions of dollars of taxpayer money. Just show they don't give all of Alabama's citizens a seat at the table.
A final map must be approved before Friday. Well, the city of Mobile has moved past Birmingham as the second largest city in the state. 3 of the 4 communities in Mobile County, considering annexation, have chosen to join the port city. This now gives Mobile 8,000 more people than Birmingham.
An Etowah County woman dead following a knife attack yesterday. Sheriff's deputies say it happened in the Tidmore Bend community. County deputies found a man and woman with several stab wounds. The woman died at the scene, the man taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. Their names have not been released.
A death row inmate is asking a federal appeals court to wait to execute him. James Barber is set to be killed by lethal injection Thursday, but his attorneys say the state cannot be trusted to carry out executions, citing multiple botched attempts. Last year, the governor temporarily suspended executions to investigate what went wrong. The A.G. Gaston Boys and Girls Club is celebrating 56 years of service to children.
Yeah, their annual fundraiser set for August 4th at the Walter Howlett Jr. Clubhouse. They'll also recognize the 100th anniversary of the Booker T. Washington Burial Society, Dr. Gaston's first business. Tickets start at $75. You can purchase them at aggastonbgc.org. Still ahead, protecting the right to vote, a reintroduction of the Freedom to Vote Act in Washington.
And the search for a murder suspect comes to an end because of one dog's awareness. We'll have details in the encounter.
And Auburn on the hot seat at SEC Media Days in Nashville. The new look of the Tigers, including the head coach. You're watching WVTM 13 News.
I'm absolutely foremost concerned about the welfare of our troops. And so we will remain focused on this.
The safety of a U.S. soldier may be at risk.
The soldier is believed to be in North Korean custody after crossing the border from the south. The demilitarized zone that separates the two countries is also known as no man's land. Military officials say Private Travis King entered North Korea willfully and without authorization during a joint security area tour of the area. Tensions between North Korea and the U.S. have surged over North Korean missile launches.
I think North Korea feels threatened, and they lash out in various ways when they feel either threatened or ignored. And I think we're seeing a bit of that right now.
The White House, Department of Defense, and United Nations are working together to bring the soldier back.
President Biden held a high-profile meeting today welcoming the president of Israel. They discussed the long-standing relationship between the two countries as Israel celebrates 75 years of independence. They also discussed bringing stability and peace to the Middle East. Meantime, President Isaac Herzog discussed the struggles Israel is currently dealing with.
Let me reiterate crystal clear, Israeli democracy is sound, strong, is resilient. We are going through pains, we are going through heated debates, we are going through challenging moments.
Israel is also getting support from members of Congress. President Herzog is set to address Congress tomorrow.
Democrats in Washington reintroduced the Freedom to Vote Act. The bill was introduced last year and passed the House, but didn't make it through the Senate. The bill would expand voter registration and access, makes Election Day a federal holiday, combat dark money, and end partisan gerrymandering. Well, Alabama Congresswoman Terry Sewell expressed her support, saying in part, the bill would make sure every American can vote in secure, accessible, and transparent elections. First Lady Jill Biden, along with the Secretary of Education and Deputy Secretary, visiting Augusta, Georgia today to discuss creating manufacturing jobs. Augusta is one of 5 U.S. workforce hubs designated by the Biden-Harris administration, intended to enhance job training created by the American Rescue Plan and the bipartisan infrastructure law.
Here, that means a growing clean energy industry, building the facilities to manufacture the batteries of our powering our future. But in order to keep this progress going, employers need more skilled workers.
The stop in Augusta was part of the Biden administration's Investing in America tour.
Vice President Kamala Harris met with state attorneys general to discuss fentanyl and the rippling effect of opioids in America. The roundtable discussed tools to drive down overdoses, crack down on trafficking, and widen access to care. The vice president revealed $50 million will be given to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration tomorrow.
Well, if you find yourself waiting until the weekend to squeeze in your workouts, you're not alone. Studies show it's just as beneficial to be a weekend warrior as it is to exercise during the week. Doctors recommend an hour and a half of physical activity a week, whether it's every day or squeezed into 2 days. The study shows both daily and weekend workout schedules share similar health benefits, including a lower risk of heart attack, heart failure, and stroke